I am going to just turn it over to Kara right now to introduce the devotions portion.
I am not doing the devotions. I just wanted to just celebrate. I have been enjoying our diversity of having different people doing devotions in different ways. And tonight we get to have a friend of mine, Linda Rosendell, and she's actually in Edmonton here in Alberta. So she is a disability advocate that I've been connected with for a while. And she just is a person who knows others, and she knew Melody. And so the two of them got together and taped this devotion for us, as well as a blessing at the end. And they're connected to each other through Reboth, which is here in Alberta. And we'll maybe send that link out as well. But I just wanted to acknowledge, not only do we have great speakers, but I'm just so enjoying the devotions that we continue to have in a variety of ways. So I think we can jump in, Becky, when you're ready, and share that devotion with Linda and Mel.
Hello, everyone. My name is Linda Rosendell, and I'm a disability advocate for Classis Alberta North, and I'd like you to meet my friend Mel. Hi, Linda. Hi, Mel. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
I live in the city of Edmonton, and I am a part-time janitor at a school.
Excellent. And what church do you belong to?
I go to Covenant CRC.
Excellent. And I know Mel makes me happy. She's a very happy person, and she loves sharing her gift of caring and loving people, and she does that in a variety of ways. But I know at the beginning of COVID, she wrote a card for every family in her church and sent them all out, right?
That's right, I did.
And that made people extremely happy.
Including your dad?
Including my dad. I know you sent cards to him, and he was in a care facility at the time, and he really appreciated that.
Yeah.
Excellent. So Mel has prepared some devotions and a prayer for everybody. So with further ado, let us get into our devotion. Thank you, Mel.
No problem. This is another favorite verse of mine, and it comes from Psalm 118, verse 24. This is the day that the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Becky and Kara and all the others that worked to put together all of these devotions. My name is Mark Stevenson. I am... Kara mentioned Rehoboth, so I'm going to just let you know that I put in the chat the link for Rehoboth Ministries in Edmonton area. And I have the privilege of introducing Bethany McKinney Fox, and we are really pleased, Bethany, that you can be with us tonight. Thank you so much for that. Reverend Dr. Bethany McKinney Fox is founding pastor of Beloved Everybody Church. I'll put that link also in the chat in just a moment, if you'd like to just find out more about the church that she leads. Beloved Everybody Church is an ability inclusive church in Los Angeles where people with and without intellectual, developmental, and other disabilities, as well as neurodiverse folks, lead and participate together. She's director of spiritual formation for Cyclical LA, a church starting network. She earned her PhD in Christian ethics at Fuller Seminary, her MDiv at Columbia Theological Seminary, and her bachelor's in philosophy with a minor in Russian literature from UCLA. So maybe we'll get some Dostoevsky quotes tonight. Her recent book, Disability and the Way of Jesus, Holistic Healing in the Gospels and the Church from InterVarsity Press, examines how Jesus' healing in the Gospels too often is used they are too often used in ways that wound people with disabilities. But they might point a way toward real healing and mutual thriving. She's ordained in the Presbyterian Church USA. When she's not making music with her violinist husband, they're exploring Los Angeles, cooking fun food, and enjoying their community. And just one more word, and that is about the book, Everybody Belongs, Serving Together. Bethany is one of our many authors in the new edition, and that's what this 4-part webinar series revolves around this book. And we are so pleased that all of you are part of this. And a special welcome to Bethany. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you so much. Lovely to be with you all. All right, so I think the title of my piece in that book and what we'll kind of be digging into a little bit tonight is healing versus curing. So how are we thinking differently about these two words, and how do we sometimes mix them up, and how does that impact the way we think about what Jesus does in the scriptures? So I'm going to be sharing a PowerPoint presentation. I will do my best to read and describe the slides that I share. All right, so the first thing, just to give a little context of, on the left is a cover of my book that I will just let you know a little secret because you're here in this group, but I feel like I feel like this cover looks like a scary face. Like here's an eye and here's an eye and like this scary mouth. Anyway, so there's the cover of my book on the left, Disability and the Way of Jesus, and then the word why. And so the question is, what got me interested in this topic enough to like kind of explore it for my PhD dissertation and then to write this book about it. So basically, something I say is that if it weren't considered heretical to have a favorite member of the Trinity, I would pick Jesus as my favorite. But if it's heretical, then I don't have a favorite. But anyway, so I've always been like a very Jesus-y person. I love Jesus. My life has been fully transformed by wanting to pursue the way of Jesus. And then as time went on and I kind of had connections to friends with disabilities and the disability community, I heard more and more stories of folks with disabilities who had been quite wounded by churches and theologies that were attempting to take the way of Jesus seriously in terms of the healing narratives in the Gospels. And instead of being healed, people were wounded time and time again by both practices and theologies that were emerging from the way of Jesus. So I thought, that seems terrible. And that has not been my experience of Jesus as like a liberator and as leading to places of life. So how can the work of healing that we're trying to practice in the way of Jesus not only not be healing, but actually wounding for people? And is there a way that we can kind of take Jesus seriously and think about what Jesus was doing in these healing texts in a way that does actually inform us in our practices of healing as communities in a way that really is healing and not wounding for people? So that was kind of the exploration and the question that got me started on this trajectory to think through some of these issues. So one thing I thought about, this is an image of a person looking through what I have learned is called a phoropter, which is when you go to the eye doctor to get fitted for glasses. Some folks might know that when you have to do that, if you're someone who wears glasses, they're putting all these different lenses in front of your eyes, and it'll be like better 1 or better 2, 3 or 4. And they're constantly changing slightly, like the way that you're looking, what you're looking through. And so you kind of have to keep picking what appears better so that you can go on your way to get your right prescription and everything. So I thought about the reality is, when we come to these texts about Jesus in scripture, about Jesus healing folks with disabilities, we come with presuppositions. Like we have this lens that we're looking through as we encounter the scriptures. We have these beliefs that we come to the text with about what does the word healing mean? What does a good body look like? What does a good brain look like? What do we think illness is? What do we think sick means? We have all these words that we encounter in the text that we have definitions for, that we've like packed with meaning for our own selves. So when we run across what's happening in scripture, we're kind of filling in the gaps with the ways that we tend to see bodies and brains and health, and the ways that we conceptualize these things influences how we read scripture. Anyway, okay, so I want to think through, there are lots of ways of thinking about disability and illness and health and all these kinds of things. So tonight we're just going to kind of look at a couple of different, what are called models of disability. And then through those models, think about how if we approach the text with a different kind of presupposition of what we mean by disability, we're going to notice different things in the text, and we're going to read the text in a different way, because those lenses are kind of informing what we tend to notice and what we tend not to notice. So some of you might be familiar with this, so it's going to be a little bit of a review for you. But like I said, lots of ways of conceptualizing disability. We're going to go through two. So the first one is called the medical model of disability. And this is a primary way disability is defined and understood in this culture, in Western world, and even kind of internationally. And the location of the problem, according to the medical model, is in the body of the person with the disability. So if someone is deaf, the medical model would say the problem is that their ears don't hear. That's like what the problem is. If someone has ADHD or a learning disability, someone would say the location of the problem is in their brain, and the way that their brain, how it fires and the neurons are, I'm not a scientist, but you get the idea. And the method of solution then, right, how we locate the problem absolutely corresponds with what we think needs to be solved. So if the problem is in an individual's body, the method of solution is going to be medical treatment, genetic research to find a cure. Basically, the idea is to eliminate the disability and for the person to conform to normalcy, which I have in quotes because that doesn't really exist and no one knows what that means. But the idea is that's what we need to do according to the medical model. So if it was someone who's deaf, it might be some kind of surgery. It might be cochlear implants, some kind of way of kind of fixing the body of the individual. If someone has ADHD, it's going to be medication. It's going to be different kinds of therapies. Everything is focused on, treating the person and wanting to cure what's happening with them. So the medical model is individualistic and focused on the limitations of the person with the disability, both in the problem and in the solution. Because like we said, those are very connected. So here's an image that's actually taken from taxi driver training in the UK, but it's like the best image I've found showing what the medical model is like. So on the left, we see this little sad stick figure wearing a shirt that says the problem. And there are all these arrows pointing toward him that say problem, because in the medical model, it is the person who is the problem. And so in the traditional view, it's that disability is caused by the person having some kind of physical, sensory, or mental impairment. And so it's the individual who is impaired and is the problem. And so the focus of the medical profession is to have a cure, to alleviate the effect of the impairment. So that hopefully that's pretty straightforward. That's kind of the way a lot of folks tend to think about disability generally. So I'm going to read a scripture. And as we read this, I want you to just kind of keep in mind the medical model. Put on the medical model hat, and that's what we're going to wear as we read this text, and think about through the medical model, what are you noticing in this text? So I'll go ahead and read it. It's from Mark 10, 46 through 52. They came to Jericho. As Jesus and his disciples and a large crowd were leaving Jericho, Bartimaeus, son of Timaeus, a blind beggar, was sitting by the roadside. When he heard that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to shout out and say, "Jesus, son of David, have mercy on me." Many sternly ordered him to be quiet, but he cried out even more loudly, "Son of David, have mercy on me." Jesus stood still and said, "Call him here." And they called the blind man, saying to him, "Take heart, get up, he is calling you." So throwing off his cloak, he sprang up and came to Jesus. Then Jesus said to him, "What do you want me to do for you?" The blind man said to him, "My teacher, let me see again." Jesus said to him, "Go, your faith has made you well." Immediately he regained his sight and followed him on the way. So if we're looking at this, if we're thinking about this text through a medical model perspective, right, this is how we think about disability. This is how we think about healing. The things that we're going to notice in this text are Bartimaeus is blind, that's kind of the problem. Like as we set up what's wrong here, in quotes, it's that Bartimaeus's eyes don't work. That's what needs to be healed, according to kind of a medical model approach. So then when we think about, okay, well, what is the healing that takes place in this text? We're drawn just to the end of the text where he says, let me see again. And Jesus cures him and he regains his sight and follows him on the way. So the medical model pretty much sums up this story by saying, here's a guy who is blind, encounters Jesus, he can see again. That's the healing, the end. And a lot of texts, we can even see in some Bibles that have those little titles above sections that want to sum up what's about to happen for you. It'll say something like healing of blind Bartimaeus, or like blind man is healed, or blind man receives his sight. And so it's kind of summed up very neatly in what is healing that's going on here. Well, we see it's all about Bartimaeus regaining his sight. So that's one way. So just by way of contrast, we're going to look through a different model of disability. And again, there are many, but we're just doing two to show a contrast tonight. So the social model of disability is a way of conceptualizing disability developed by people in the disability rights community. And according to the social model, the systems of the location of the problem is not in the individual, but it's in the systems of social construction, like both physical constructed worlds and then relational structures, and in institutions that marginalize people with disabilities as individuals and as a group. And that includes something like stigma, that's a little bit less, stairs versus a ramp is like one location of a problem. If someone can't get into a building who uses a wheelchair, the medical model is going to say, well, the problem is that this person can't climb stairs, that their legs don't function in the way that we think that they should. Whereas the social model is going to say, it doesn't matter how this person moves. We've built this building in a particular way that keeps someone from being able to come in who just moves differently. And so the location of the problem is less in the body of the person, and it's more in the way that the kind of physical environment has been built and structured. And so stigma also is a part of that, right? If we think that certain kinds of disabilities, certain kinds of bodies or brains are less valuable, then that is going to impact the way people treat one another, all kinds of systems. And so that's the problem more than like whatever the person's body or brain is like. It's the response and the assumptions that other folks have that is the location of the problem. So like back to even the ADHD example, right? For some folks, and these are not mutually exclusive. Like, it's not like if you think the social model is good, you can like never take medicine or something. They can overlap, but it's just, I'm kind of separating them just to kind of demonstrate a difference of perspective. So somebody with ADHD, again, according to the medical model, the location of the problem is in them. And so what they need to do is, take medicine and fix their brain to help it work according to the quote unquote right way. But according to the social model, the problem is, we've built classrooms and organizations that require a certain type of focus and stillness and these other kinds of things. And that excludes certain kinds of learners. So it's not that the person's learning style is the problem. It's that we've created kind of structures that exclude people whose brains and bodies work in particular ways. So as you might expect then, the method of the solution is quite different. For the social model, it would be fixing those things around the person. So a shift in social attitudes, more positive attitude about certain traits or behaviors, not underestimating the potential quality of life for people with various impairments, making sure the accessibility of the physical environment is there, social support in terms of legal protection or civil rights, and then access to information. Is there translation? Are there captions? Do people able to like get the information that they need? So the social model is focused on the role of society and culture in creating the barriers and disabling conditions rather than on the individual. So here's our taxi driver training again. Here's our same little guy on the left, but instead of the arrows pointing toward him, the arrows are pointed out from him to the word barriers, because the social model is saying the problem is not in this way this person is, it's in the barriers that exist that keep them from being able to participate. So social barriers could be in the environment, that it's inaccessible, like buildings, or it's not offered in the right kind of language, communication style, or services. It can be in the form of attitudes, people's prejudices or stereotypes or discrimination. And then organizations might be inflexible in their procedures and practices. I'm sure all the church folks in here have never experienced inflexibility in their organization, but just imagine that there are other churches and people that have experienced that. So that's kind of an example of the social model of disability and how we think about what the problem that's in need of healing would be. So let's think through that lens for a minute and go back to our friend Bartimaeus and to Jesus. And I want us to be thinking through that lens as we read this text and see what kind of we notice when we look through that lens. So I'm going to just go ahead and read the whole thing, and I want you to be thinking through that question of what is the problem and what is the transformation or healing that takes place. They came to Jericho. I think this, sorry, I'm interrupting myself only to say, I think this might be a lectionary text for this Sunday, which is purely a coincidental. So if anyone's preaching this Sunday, you're welcome. Okay, so they came to Jericho. As Jesus and his disciples and a large crowd were leaving Jericho, Bartimaeus, son of Timaeus, a blind beggar, was sitting by the roadside. When he heard that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to shout out and say, "Jesus, son of David, have mercy on me." Many sternly ordered him to be quiet, but he cried out even more loudly, "Son of David, have mercy on me." Jesus stood still and said, "Call him here." And they called the blind man, saying to him, "Take heart, get up, he is calling you." So throwing off his cloak, he sprang up and came to Jesus. Then Jesus said to him, "What do you want me to do for you?" The blind man said to him, "My teacher, let me see again." Jesus said to him, "Go, your faith has made you well." Immediately he regained his sight and followed him on the way. So a couple of things to highlight. First of all, yes, a transformation that takes place is that Bartimaeus is blind and he is sighted by the end of the text. That is something that happens. But what else? When we put the social model perspective on and we think about disability in a different way, we notice other things too, right? We notice in terms of what is the problem, we notice that Bartimaeus is sitting by the roadside. He's kind of marginalized. He's at the side. He's not with the crowd. He's kind of on the side of the road. And then we also see he's calling out for Jesus. And what happens? How does the crowd treat him, right? Many sternly ordered him to be quiet. I think we all can understand what that might be like, being sternly ordered to be quiet. So the people are not really respecting him. They don't want to hear from him. They consider him a burden. He's just kind of like being silenced. That's the way that he's treated by the community. And then, so there's all this other stuff that's happening here and he's a beggar, right? We know that he doesn't have necessarily a meaningful employment. Unlike today, when people with disabilities all have jobs that are meaningful and meet their, I'm being totally sarcastic, that still is happening today. So we see, right, Bartimaeus is a beggar by the roadside. People are treating him terribly. And then Jesus stands still and says, "Call him here." And so this is a transformation and a huge difference that happens in this text that I feel like when we come at it from a medical model perspective, we totally miss, right? So these people that like 2 lines ahead, right, sternly ordered him to be quiet. A second later, Jesus stands still, which is interesting, right? Because Jesus could have gone over to Bartimaeus. You would think if someone were blind, it would be nice of you to, like, in a crowded place, go to the person. So Jesus could have easily gone to Bartimaeus, but that isn't what Jesus chooses to do. Jesus stands still and says, "Call him here," like to the people that are around. And so the people go to Bartimaeus and they say, "Take heart, get up, he's calling you." this is a huge transformation that has happened in this text. If we want to talk about healings that have taken place in this text and other places, gospel writers often talk about ways the people around are responding to what's happening. We tend not to think about that because we think about disability and illness as such an individual thing. But here we see that the way Bartimaeus is received by the community is totally transformed. They say, take heart, get up, he's calling you. So Bartimaeus does get up. A lot of folks point to Jesus saying, what do you want me to do for you, as an important piece also. I know a lot of folks with disabilities, what I've heard about wounding experiences, particularly with healing, experience a lot of unrequested prayer for their healing from strangers. And so there's a way that this moment where Jesus doesn't assume that what Bartimaeus wants is to be healed of his blindness, Jesus instead asks, what do you want me to do for you? Giving Bartimaeus some agency, giving him the opportunity to speak for himself. Whereas in the beginning, everyone's trying to silence Bartimaeus. Jesus is inviting Bartimaeus's voice into the exchange. And Bartimaeus does ask for his sight. That is what Bartimaeus wants. A lot of folks have also pointed out this word again, when Bartimaeus says, let me see again, that it shows that he was sighted at some point in the past and that then became blind later. And a lot of folks in the disability community will talk about the difference between being born with a particular disability that's just part of who you are for your whole life. And then sometimes when something happens, it's sometimes a different experience, and people respond differently and think differently, depending on whether something is from birth or acquired later. Either way, Bartimaeus makes his request, and then Jesus commends his faith. He names him as a person of faith. Your faith has made you well. And then Bartimaeus regains his sight and follows Jesus on the way. He becomes a follower of Jesus. He was on the roadside. Now he's in the center of the road with the crowd following Jesus. And these are all details. Like, I'm not making these things up just based on some wanting the text to be nicer than it is. These are all pieces in the text that if we just come with an awareness that I think comes from different models of disability, recognizing that it's not always just about the person's body. We recognize that there's a lot of other ways that Jesus is participating in healing in a person's life beyond just curing. And so that's where kind of the distinction comes from. The medical model tends to be focused on cure, and what Jesus is doing is a much more holistic sense of healing, which just from this one text, we can kind of see some examples of that. So according to in the healings of Jesus, we have the medical model, which pays attention to what the person cannot do. So they emphasize the bodily cure that takes place. And according to the medical model, then, if that's what we're paying attention to, the practices of healing that we would kind of incorporate into our communities and into our theologies are going to be about focusing on how to fix the individual. How do we fix this person? That's what healing means if we're looking at it through the medical model lens. The social model, on the other hand, pays attention to what the person cannot be in their context. What roles can they not play? How are they being excluded? Those kinds of things. So there's an emphasis then in the texts. You notice more about the social inclusion that happens, ways that the environment transforms during the healing encounters. So if that's what we're thinking about then, through the lens of the social model and noticing those pieces in the text, then if we're wanting to create practices of healing in the way of Jesus, with those ideas in mind, will lead to practices that focus on how to fix broken and exclusive structures that are leaving people out. So removing barriers. So then thinking through how to apply some of these things that we're seeing in the text. So obviously we don't just woodenly notice what Jesus did and then do the exact same thing in our day. I sometimes use John 9 as an example here that, Jesus meets a man who's blind, spits into the dirt, makes mud and puts it in the person's eyes. We do not think that as followers of Jesus. Hopefully none of us think that. If anyone thinks that, don't do that. But we all know that that isn't kind of following Jesus doesn't mean a wooden replication of the thing that Jesus did. So the way that I've kind of a method I've used for thinking through how do we take what Jesus is doing back in, his day and think about how to translate that into our practices today is through this method that William Spone, who is an ethicist, developed in his book, Go and Do Likewise. It's in this little analogy. So basically the idea is you're looking for a rhyme between these two things. So it's like the New Testament text in relationship to its world should rhyme with our own Christian community's practices in relationship to our world today. So we're looking for actions that are analogous, not like identical. So we want to kind of capture the spirit and the truth of what Jesus is doing, even knowing that because of cultural and temporal differences, it's going to look different in our community now. But we wanted to rhyme with what Jesus was doing back then. So we're like reenacting the action of Jesus without merely repeating it. So this is like an exercise of imagination based more on finding the rhyme as in poetry, than finding an equivalency like in mathematics. So it's an act of being faithful to the text, but then creative at the same time for how we apply that to our context today. Okay, so in practicing this analogical imagination in relationship to the healing texts, I kind of came up with these 7 marks of healing in the way of Jesus. And this is, I kind of go into a lot more depth in my book, but I'm going to kind of run through those now just to have a sense of what do we actually, if we want to be healers in the way of Jesus today, like if we consider ourselves followers of Jesus and we want to have communities that are truly healing in the way of Jesus, here are some ways of noticing whether we are kind of on track. So these are some things I pulled out from reading all of the different healing narratives. It's not like every one of these is in every single healing narrative, but it's kind of like through looking at all of them and really like I said, getting a sense of like the feel of what Jesus is doing and looking at the details of all the different narratives. We're trying to find the rhyme. So what are the common threads? What are some ways that we can see whether our practices of healing rhyme with the way of Jesus? So the first one that I put first very intentionally is that there's a positive reception by the person who is supposed to be receiving healing. So if you're wanting to heal someone and you go offer to pray for them or you do something that you think is healing and it wounds the person, that isn't actually practicing healing in the way of Jesus. Because when Jesus practiced healing in his day, at worst, someone was kind of neutral about what happened to them. But most of the time they were rejoicing and grateful and had a very positive response. So that's one way to be thoughtful about. The second one is, yes, Jesus cares about bodies and cares about the healing and transformation of our bodies. And this is where we can think through the fact that healing and cure are not the same thing, and that someone's body can be attended to and cared for, even if curing is not the way that we're trying to transform someone. It might be paying even attention to healthcare and making sure someone is getting the care that they need for their body. And that is kind of a way of enacting the healing way of Jesus, because we're still paying attention to the body. We don't think people are just kind of spirits floating around. We do care about bodies, but the way we care about it isn't necessarily only focused on cure. Presence with compassion. So there's 2 pieces here. One is like actual presence, like concrete. We're actually in the same room together. People with and without disabilities are sharing space. We're present together. And then a certain kind of presence. So like with compassion. So, we hear Jesus listening to people's stories, speaking to them with tenderness. There's a certain kind of presence that happens that is a mark of healing in the way of Jesus. The fourth one is the impact and transformation of the broader community. And this is one I think we do leave out a lot because we think of healing as in such a medical way, as like Jesus is like the fancy doctor and the other person is the patient. So it's kind of just about this individual interaction. When really a lot of the gospel narratives focus a lot on how are the people around receiving this? So we saw that in the Bartimaeus story, but it's also like a healing happens and everyone's mad or everyone is grateful or everyone is worshiping or all these different kinds of things. But either way, it's like about the community. Something is happening to the whole community, not just to the person. And then the fourth one, we have some clarifying identities, both of the person healed and Jesus. So we see with Bartimaeus, he's proclaimed as a person of faith. Jesus commends his faith in front of everyone. A lot of times, clarifying the identity of the person comes in the form of kinship language, like Jesus will say, daughter or son, or you are too, or a child of Abraham. These kinds of things to say, this person who's been on the outside is actually part of my family, is on the inside, is a part of the community. So clarifying that that is who the person is. And then of Jesus, we know that people see Jesus more clearly because of this. They know that Jesus, who he is and what he's here to do, that happens as a result of these healing practices. And then sixth, transformation on multiple levels. So like we saw with Bartimaeus, right? It's not just about the body. It is about the body, but it's also about social transformation. Could be financial transformation, spiritual transformation. A lot of people grow in their relationship with God. They become followers of Jesus. Their whole lives are changed. It isn't just about, I was deaf and then I could hear. It's that there's all kinds of things that are happening in a holistic way to bring healing to the person and to the community. And then finally, the last one, and I love this one so much, and I think this is why I'm like so in love with Jesus, because he's so good at this, which is the expanding categories and enlarging imagination. And again, just as a quick example, I think of John 9 and the man born blind, and how the disciples come to him in the beginning, right? And they say, who sinned? Was it this guy or was it his parents that he was born blind? And Jesus says, yeah, no, not neither of those things. It was this whole other reason. And I feel like Jesus does that a lot, right? We come to Jesus with like, is it A or is it B? And Jesus is like, it's purple. Like, we're not even asking the right questions. And Jesus is like expanding our categories of what does a good body look like? What does a follower of Jesus look like? How do we think differently about who is included in the group and who isn't? So it's always this kind of like bursting of boundaries in lots of different ways about being included and about who is part of the family of God. So that's just a quick run through. And I would love to just have some space now. I'll stop screen sharing and happy to take some questions if there are any and have some discussion.
So Anne has asked, I'd love to hear Bethany's interpretation through a charity model.
You mean like how do we read a text through a charity model?
The Bartimaeus text, how would you read it through the charity model of disability?
Yeah, that's interesting. Can I pull it up and we can take a look? Great. So I haven't done that before, like intentionally. So
it's one I encounter so much, so that's why I'm curious.
Yeah, it is. It's so popular, right? And so the charity model, for those of you who maybe are wondering, it's the idea that disability is this tragic thing that happens to a person and that we should feel really bad for them. And that's why we cure them, because it's such a terrible, sad way to be.
And it's an opportunity for others to become better people, to gain points for heaven.
Yeah, that's interesting. What's really funny is like, I feel like that isn't super present in any of the healing narratives. Like if people are getting it, I feel like Jesus doesn't interact with people in that way. And so I'm looking at this text right now, right? And I'm thinking, like, I guess the people might feel good about themselves when Jesus asks them to bring Bartimaeus over, but they were first so clearly terrible that it's hard to feel like they're just good, kind people.
The only thing I could come up with, Bethany, is counterpoints to the charity model. Do you know, when Jesus, calls him and, he doesn't presume, doesn't presume to know what he needs.
Right.
It's, what is it that you want?
Right. I see all kinds of counterpoints to the charity model. I feel like it's very hard to see, if I had that lens on and I read this, I would just stop thinking in that way.
Yeah. So maybe that's the text. So it's fun to talk about.
Yeah. That's I love that question. I want to do more of that now. Think through that model of text. Thanks, Anne.
Sure.
All right. We have Jenny's asked a question to me, so I'm going to raise that, and then Mike can follow with his question as well. But first of all, Jenny's question is there examples of healing without a cure?
Yeah, thank you for that question. There are two that people tend to point to, and I think I do cover one of these in my book at greater length, but one of the big ones for me is Zacchaeus. And I think we don't always see, and this is a part of where there's some cultural complicatedness again, because we don't tend to think of Zacchaeus as a disabled person because his issue being short, although, we do have think of dwarfism or little people as being we consider that a disability today, but we don't tend to read the Zacchaeus text through a disability lens. And yet I think there are some good reasons to do that. One of those is that we actually don't hear about anyone's body in the entire Gospels except people who are being healed. So we don't know what anyone else looks like. We don't know what anyone else's body is like, but we do learn that Zacchaeus is a short man. And so some people have said that that's kind of like a disability at the time in the sense that he's it's like pathological shortness, but it's in the way that maybe today we wouldn't think of it in that same way. But it does actually kind of fall under the disability category at the time. And then alongside that is the language that gets used, particularly in the Greek. Jesus uses the same kind of language with Zacchaeus when Zacchaeus experiences this transformation as he does for other people in the Gospels, which is the language of sozo, which is to save, but it's in a very holistic sort of way. So this is the language that Jesus uses in all the different healing narratives. And in Luke, he also uses it for Zacchaeus. So a lot of people point to this saying, Zacchaeus had this body that was quote unquote imperfect and considered a disabled body. And then he encounters Jesus and experiences radical transformation. And yet his body is the same as at the beginning of the text, that he doesn't experience a cure, but he does experience kind of a radical transformation in all these other ways, relationally, financially, spiritually. So that's one example. It's kind of the main example. And then we do have just texts where Jesus, that's the main one I can point to. Some people do point to the Ethiopian eunuch in Acts as another example of that, but that's outside of the Gospels. So.
Okay, Mike, go for it.
Thanks, Becky. So maybe I'm taking us kind of far field, Bethany, and I don't want to do that. You can stop me if I am. I was just thinking of Luke 17:11-19, when Jesus is on the border between Galilee and Samaria, and he encounters the 10 guys with leprosy, and one of them is a Samaritan. And I was thinking about Nancy Easland. I know you didn't bring her up, but in Disabled God, she talks a bit about the minority group model of disability. Is that closely enough related to the social model that you could reinterpret parts of the Luke 17 passage through that lens for us?
Can you say a little bit more, maybe just, so I kind of did allude to the minority model a little bit, but it's the idea that people with disabilities are as a group in society, like a minority group. And so there's a certain amount of power that comes from that, and that there's an oppression as a group. And so, yeah, do you want to say something else, Mike, about how you see that correlation happening?
Sure. So the way that I read the things that Easland talks about in Disabled God vis-a-vis the minority model, minority group model, the folks with leprosy on the Samaritan border that Jesus encounters are marginalized. They are outcast or oppressed in specific ways that are also kind of alluded to with the social model, insofar as there's specific ritual barriers they have to jump over and social barriers that they have to erect, like shouting unclean, unclean, whenever they enter a normal human habitation. But Jesus not only reintegrates the Samaritan leper particularly, but all of them into that society. He also actually physically heals them so they don't have to do those ritual things anymore. I hope I didn't just steal your thunder. Can you talk a bit about that?
Well, I'm just trying to make sure I understand the question. No, there's no you can steal all the thunder you want. Have all the thunder. I just I'm trying to understand. So, is the minority model about the 10 people or about the Samaritan in the group?
I would actually apply it to the larger group, to the 10 as a whole. Yeah.
So how are we? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I have a thought about that. It's not striking me in the same way I think it's striking you. So
okay,
I'm happy for you to add another thought if you want to about how that's like a helpful way of thinking about that text.
Yeah, I'll have to go back and reread Eastland and actually formulate the question properly before I can do that, I think.
Yeah, well, great. I appreciate you just highlighting that. I would love to read that again too. And I don't know every healing text quite super well off the top of my head, but I appreciate that connection. I look forward to investigating that a little more.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mike.
I don't have a question so much as a thought / a comment / for further exploration later. And so when you were talking about how people don't view Zacchaeus really as a disabled man in our context, and Zacchaeus didn't experience a cure in the traditional sense of what curing means, I wonder if the fact that Zacchaeus didn't experience a cure is precisely why people don't think of him as like disabled and then non-disabled.
Yeah, 100%. I think that is a huge part of why.
And that annoys me, but thank you for bringing light to that.
Yeah. No, that's amazing. And, it makes me even think a little bit about, this is like super unformed thought, but it makes me want to think more about the idea of, because we have disabled people today that everyone clearly thinks about as disabled. And then we have certain kinds of disabled people who tend to not be viewed as disabled in the same way. And I wonder if there's a way we can even, I think people with some kinds of less apparent disabilities can get left out of the conversation sometimes. And I wonder, this is just like totally, I have no idea if that is a connection worth thinking about, but it's just an interesting, what you just said made me think about that too. So
yeah, thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Chantal. I see Jenny with your hand, but I just want to just in order of a couple things. Tim has asked a question, and then so I'll do Tim's question, and then hopefully we'll have time for you, Jenny. But if not, we can save it for after we finish this main part. All right. So Tim was saying, what about the Apostle Paul's request for healing? God told him no, he doesn't need it because God's grace is sufficient, which is the testimony of Johnny Erickson Tada. God had never healed her, yet people are still able to praise God the same way who experienced Jesus healing in the Gospels. So do you have anything you want to add to that?
Well, I just want to add that I feel like Johnny Erickson Tada has experienced lots of healing and that she hasn't experienced a cure. So I think I just want to be clear again about that language, that when we talk about the word healing and who has been healed or not healed, that's not the same thing as who's been cured or not cured. And so there are people who retain their disability or an illness or various kinds of things, but experience lots of healing because I was showing in some of these slides, what's happening is a very holistic experience. It's about relationships. It's about a person's connection to God. It's about a person's connection to their community. It's about financial resources. It's about how they're viewed and how people name them and whether they're considered a burden or not. And there's all these things that people can receive healing in, even if a bodily cure isn't a part of that. So I just want to add that distinction to think about. And I think Paul experienced lots of healing in his life too, even if this one thing wasn't cured. And so just really wanted, since that's the title of this whole thing, I just want to drive that point home about the healing and curing. And I appreciate you bringing those folks to light. Thank you.
Thanks for that clarification. It's so helpful. And, if it's okay, Jenny, I'm going to save, if you have time to stick around, that'd be awesome. I'm going to actually turn it over to Mark right now.
Yeah, thank you so much, Bethany. once again, we really appreciate your being here tonight, sharing your insights with us. Highly recommend that you go to pages 52 and 53 in your copy of Everybody Belongs, Serving Together. Let me just read a couple of sentences. To follow in the way of, this is written by Bethany, to follow in the way of Jesus today means holistically healing, which may not include curing, deeper integration into community, growing connection to Jesus, and a meaningful life path. So a question for all of us to ponder then, what would it mean to make space for this kind of healing for people? And with that, let's lead into the closing blessing from Mel.
Dear God, we thank you. We thank you for all our blessings. We know that all of our gifts come from you. May we always give ourselves. May we use our gifts in a way that shows how grateful we are for them. Give us strength to reach out to others in need. May each of us discover our gifts and use them to make the lives of others a little easier. May we always be willing to make sacrifices for the benefit of others and do this in a loving service to one another, as Jesus taught us. Amen.